It's just a request.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly try it. I'm also hard of hearing.
Yeah, we can do it.
Back.
Just do that and see what happens.
Kind of stay there. You're careful, don't.
But slide it right up, yeah.
I don't know if her corporate region is farther away.
Oh, come back. Oh, is this yours?
How's that, man? I might.
So, all right, guess what? No, minutes, sorry, so we have to do minutes first, before we get to business. So August 16th.
I think I might.
August 16th, you might be on there. So August 16th, there were a number of suggestions for changes. I don't know if you wanna, if we're already gone. You don't have to make the changes. It's a matter of just.
Right.
And then we can agree to accept the changes with the, proposed changes. Right, so minutes, I think, we'll read them out, but did you have a chance to look at them?
I mean, I typed them. So.
No, comments.
Oh, the comments. No, I have not seen comments on the 16th.
Then we should look through them, because it's just you and me, and I will look through them, and I think they're all fine.
I see one comment that we generally use military time. Oh, there are more.
And it's not just for me, there's ones from Nicole, too.
I see 3 comments from you, and that's it.
That's very strange. Nicole,
Yours is very different than the last I'm seeing.
is 8/16?
Mm-hmm.
So approve is highlighted. Oh, that's weird. So you added an S up here, which is strange. And you're not seeing no changes. This is very, very strange.
It's a simple change.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but Nicole had a lot of them, which is why that's considered. What do you have on number 4?
Number 4.
Oddly, yes, mine is under 4, yours is, oh, it's under G, it's under G. It's
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
I discuss school achievement.
And Nicole added a sentence for an A there, and you don't see
I
it.
don't.
So I don't see it, and I could go through it with you. And so you just might not have loaded it.
Okay, there's a second document with the same title here.
Oh,
This is the one. Yeah.
there we go.
There it is.
All
Okay.
right, there we go, now you can see it.
I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one. Okay. Geez, Nicole was all over this thing.
She was. She likes the word to be good and so on. Sure, you changed any of those in the other one, not this one.
So She's saying remove this statement.
I mean, just first see if you agree with all of them, right? And you can go back and do them later. So,
Oh, yeah, because it was decided later on in the process that that was not necessary.
Exactly.
Well, I had already typed it, so.
Yep. I get it. She just informed. It's just the stuff that's.
And she's.
Yeah, she's just formatting. She's not for this, so I'm doing that. You know what? You just hit check on all of those, so it's fine.
Oh, well, that's kind of handy. So she just wanted to have this statement about the overall goal.
Yeah, that's fine. So suggested changes for this. Yeah.
I took it away.
Just a comment.
So
With.
after this.
Yes. Okay. All right. So now I will make a motion to. It's just you and me. All those in favor? All right. Now is August 22nd.
I just closed this now, it automatically saves.
Seeing it actually saved. Okay. So I actually have the ones that you
Little edits there.
I see, yeah. 50 is important. 50 is an important
That's what I
number.
like about you. Shade.
That's why,
It's also, well,
that's why, is like,
yeah, it's a nightmare.
yeah.
Words a nightmare.
She's overloaded. So that's,
Shocker.
All right.
Seems to be par for the course in that role. It's a catch-all.
God, I got recruited at the superintendent's meeting,
You didn't tell me.
All right. So motion.
For where?
I can make that motion.
the School Boards Association guy, said, great,
Unanimous.
go to Northfield.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I apologize. We can move on to the next
Jeez.
All right, so that was just a lot of tedium with the minutes from previous meetings. I was just making my.
I know.
notes, And
Yeah.
we just most, I feel like yelling all of those little comments so everybody could hear, sorry.
So septic, who's taking this?
I don't do so.
Frank?
I'm sorry.
Septic.
Yes, the concept that it's shared, I guess nobody knew that. We didn't know that. That it's shared with the church. The church next door has requested that that it be serviced, and no one seems to be able to find, to my knowledge anyway, that there was an agreement at some point in history between the school district and the church that if the church allowed us to use the system, that we would take care of it as the need arises. And so I've been here 3 years now. I'll mean, and I do know it hasn't been, and I do know it does get used. So,
And I've been here, yeah, I've been here 6 and we haven't done any work on it. So I believe we have a guest this evening.
Yeah.
Yes, a risk area, and I'm a rusty, with the church. And I was having our flat church service, and I found the happiness of having that service. So I looked into looking at when the last time this system was serviced, and I can't find anything. So it's been over 15 years. So the story as it is, when the first started, I didn't have space for it, so the church offered the front vestibule. And then as soon as they moved it to the school, and the school added on, seeing the church is basically empty except for June through September, they said, let's share the church's septic field and the school can service it, and they have on the school. But whether anything was ever written down or if it was a good old handshake, I couldn't find anything. So I raised the concern to have it looked into. I mean, I'm assuming it's a school issue, but it's a town-owned building.
The churches?
I've been told the school.
The school is town, that's.
Okay, so I didn't know if it was a town responsibility or a school.
It's, and we've all agreed that we will, have it serviced and so on.
Okay, so I
Do we know where it is?
there is, I know where the pump station is, and I know where the holding tank is.
And stop by and we can mark those places.
Spots, yep.
I don't know who the company is. Yeah. And, we can get that done. And then, Beth has reminded me, we should probably actually do a very simple agreement,
Yep.
of understanding,
Absolutely.
and could be all of 3 sentences.
Yeah, right.
And then,
That'd be
have the
super.
church.
I'd like to schedule it for, every 3 or every 5 years. I think it's worth, spending $600 every, 3 or 4 years and to have.
Well, if it's been 15 years, somebody's been very lucky.
Yeah.
I believe it was a new system.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been done since.
Wow,
Wow,
that's
good
amazing.
system.
Can I throw out there, my stepfather is a septic designer and an assessor, and he just said he'd be happy to look at it.
Sure,
If it needs more than pumping.
okay. Yeah. There's no issue, everything's working fine, so
Yeah.
that's a good news, yeah.
I'll be fine.
So this is pretty, thrilled to back there.
So are you folks on to phone and have it, or do you need to have it pumped and?
Standing, and the other is to have somebody actually clean it out.
So I don't care who calls the guy, do you?
No,
No, just go.
go ahead, call him.
Just have the bill sent to us, to the school. Okay, and we'll take care of it. In the meantime, I'll write up an MOU this week and.
And the MOU will be with the church.
With the church.
Yes,
You're connected to the church? You're connected to the church?
Yes, how much?
But I've been in church 20 years, and I know
Per rusty.
at least 10 or 15 years ago, I had heard that before.
Yeah.
So there are
well, I have no doubt it's very sensible.
Yeah.
It's very, makes sense.
So you can handle that memo of understanding as well, is really my question. Whether they need to have a contract with somebody else or with you, if you can handle the memo of understanding.
I can.
Does he do that? Oh, I thought Frank just said it.
Yeah, Frank was going to do it.
He did.
Frank just said he'd do
I
it.
can do it, or you, or whoever, it doesn't matter.
He's asking us to do it.
No, I'm not. I'm asking who we should be in touch with
Oh,
for the memo of understanding. Perfect.
And I'm sorry, your name again was
Chris Garrity.
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 Daherty.
Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
just putting in here that Chris Garrity will be working with Frank to establish a minimum of understanding with the school.
Awesome.
And to service the septic.
And you will be coordinating the septic to service?
Yes, I will.
And
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, moving on to, superintendent's report.
Okay. So with the Academy for Thought and Industry as a partner school with the Croydon School District, they only send students who register with them at public expense. My comment in here was that this is the first online school to seek acceptance as an independent school meeting adequacy requirements and state board approval as a New Hampshire school. In that regard, ATI has submitted their application within the timeline required by the Croydon School Board, and they have provided proof of that submission to my office. So should be smooth sailing
so
between.
all the requirements.
Yep. I have received one application for someone to be a consultant for the strategic planning process.
I have a question about the ATI.
Oh, okay.
What I actually want to know is how much the lawyers cost so far and how much what it's projected.
I have not seen an invoice. I don't know.
It was,
No, he charges, he said hourly
I
rate.
just signed the manifest that has part of the rate on.
Right, but I have no idea what his time involvement is and I haven't seen an invoice at this point. So I don't know.
That,
So you have one invoice is in for the month of August, which was right around the time that you started. So 2,200 from August 4th to the end of the month. I don't know what they've billed in September, so I would imagine.
Yeah.
So that was about 11 and a half hours on that bill
for the 2,200.
for the 2,200. Yep.
Okay.
And then they first did contract review and negotiations and so on.
Right.
Okay. I was just curious because, you know, our total potential liability was about $1,000. Right? And this was one of the reasons why we questioned whether we needed to go to a lawyer for it.
I'm not following that.
See, and this is why we can't hear each other.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When we talked about it last time, we realized that the liability, the total liability, if, you know, sort of worst case, would be $1,000. And there was, I don't know if they may still not get accepted by the state. We came up with a pretty good plan for figuring out, you know, how to, for them to apply for state approval for attendance and what would happen if they didn't get it and so on. And with all that, the most we would be short $50,000, and people have even come up to me since the last meeting offering to submit $5,000. So, but we're spending probably on the order of $5,000 for a lawyer in order to handle it. That was my concern. That's why I wanted to know how much it costs.
Okay. Yeah, I know we talked about the cost of the liability, and I think there's probably disagreement on what the liability exposure really is, because in this one particular student, that it may be $1,000 for their student in terms of the difference in cost. However, if you were sued by somebody, we didn't have the laws right and all of that, then your liability becomes much more.
Right.
And there's also, you know, the cost for one student could be the cost for many students, and then it changes. So from my perspective, having clear guidance legally so that we can safely say we have done our best to protect the town and district from suit, and that we've got a good contract that will hold ATI to their responsibilities. I think that was important.
Worth a few $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I just thought that risk was very low.
Yeah.
And that's why we, you know, voted for this process. So I just wanted to know what it was.
Yeah.
And, So sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so the other is, we have one application for a consultant who wishes to do our strategic planning process for us. And I have that in my bag. I have not had a chance to review it. And what I'll do is I need to meet with Aaron, who's the chair of that committee, because that's one of the things we'll have to do is to set that meeting and get that reviewed and get that forward. The next item I had was that the job market for educators remains extremely tight. I want to thank Brenda. Is she here?
Yep.
She's helping us out, has stepped up to be our bus monitor, and is helping us with that. And she's also volunteering, and we're really happy to have her. We've also been able to hire Kelsey McNamee, who actually lives in Sunapee. Grew up in my hometown, Plainfield. I had reached out to her because I know her. Knew she was a teacher and that she hasn't been teaching. She has over the literacy block so that Nicole is able to attend these that she has some time to do that. So, and in the meantime, have at least a little bit of help with that. So we're happy to have her last week. Last week, yep. We have Brenda. The last item I have is, it's been short since our last meeting, time-wise, but I continue to work on our grants, and I've been having a go around with one of the grant managers, a true bureaucrat, and we have we have $3,500 left in a Title IV grant that will, and the reason we have it is because we had it budgeted for other items, including the summer camp program, and that didn't use it all, so there was a little left over. I tried to use that money to get him to reopen that grant so I could get that and use Title IV and support our assessment program. And he told me that because the grant is closing on the 30th of this month, that it would need to be spent immediately. I said, that's not a problem. I'll do the invoice the minute you reopen that grant for me. And he said, well, we've been asked to hold that money. And then on further clarification, his reasoning has been that not only do they want us to spend it, but we have to do measurements on all this money. New programs we have for, you may remember, we've done the ESSER surveys, things what do you see as the needs in the community for the school? Is it for, do you think we need to improve the building? Do you think we need to improve our materials, our testing, our assessments, our support services? And that is a requirement for this current set of grants for this current year, that the allocations that have come forward. And really, when we put all these grants together, it's $67,000 a year. It adds up to a lot. It's difficult sometimes because they are very specific in what they allow you to spend that money on. So we have to be very creative in our usage, and that's why I have this go around back and forth with project managers. Some of them are easier than others to work with, but anyway, we've been doing pretty well since I've been here and utilizing our grants. So anyway, that survey should be coming out in a week or so. Seems like every time I get started on it, something else happens that we have to deal with. So it's close. And it's very simple, and it'll come out. It'll be on the website with a link. It'll be on Class Dojo. I don't know, our networking has grown in how we distribute things now, information and stuff. So we'll widely disperse that so everybody else sees it. Yeah.
Is the survey just for parents, or is it for taxpayers?
It's for everybody. It's for community. Yeah, it's for everybody. In fact, one of the first questions is, are you a community person? Are you a staff member? Are you a board member? And so you self-identify. Yeah. Yep.
So it'll be out somewhere
Yes, so it'll be, for example, Angie has been posting things out, and so I'll make sure she's now on my list for agendas and all of that. So it'll go to Angie. Angie can forward it out through her network, and yeah, widely dispersed. We like lots of input. Oh, just another announcement. This has just popped in my mind, and Nicole may mention it if we're able to hear Nicole. She's sick, by the way, so hopefully she'll be better soon and be back with us. But one of the things that we do here is to collect as much information as we can on free and reduced lunch applications, and it's worth. And then we'll bill to families based on the federal program, and the school district supports the remainder of that. So those applications, however, are important because they give us a count, which in that count of the number of students that we have who are in free and reduced qualifies us for grant money. So even though we're not actually part of the program, it's really important for us to have that data. So anybody is sitting on an application, the sooner you get around to it, the better. Hope you looked a little, answer a question for you. No, the bureaucracy that costs the paperwork for us to do that. The same with, we also don't participate in the Medicaid reimbursement program. It's hours and hours, and we would have to hire consultants to work for us. In the end, it costs us more than we would get. So at this point, unless something changes in any of those things, but right now they're very difficult. That's me.
So Nicole?
Nicole, you're on.
Hi there. So it's fine. Sorry I can't be here tonight, but at least I'm here remotely, I suppose. My report is rather short as well, so patiently. But we go to school with a total of 28 students, and we have a perfect 14 in each building. We're welcoming 9 kindergarten students and 3 students in the other grades. And overall, the students and staff are really enjoying being back at school. To have a back. At this time, we are still Thursday morning, and we're very thankful that Brenda has offered to help us out. Another person is found because they know that otherwise it hasn't been made. So, if you see a new person on the bus in the morning, it's not somebody that's been hired. They're just trying to help out as much as they can. So we can make that position filled. And then, let's see, as Frank said, we have hired somebody to help out so that I can perform some of my principal duties, but still we need a full-time teacher. We have our beginning of the year professional development. We're trying to encourage students to further their independence and thrive. So we're going to have student-centered goals this year where they're really setting their own goals to meet the learning targets that we have in our classroom. And in turn, this should allow students to have more drive in their learning. And so we're going to be using the EDL process to kind of assist us with this, and I'll be at an EDL conference next week to get some more information on best ways to help students driven in their learning and setting those goals. We also, as staff, have created our own goals for the school year, and we're going to this year to use those as part of our evaluation process. I've met with each staff member, and we've reviewed their goals. Best teaching looks like at Croydon Village School. So after tonight, I'll be taking a question on our Croydon Village School community page, asking families and community members for feedback on what is good teaching, what is best teaching, what would you like to see at Croydon Village School? Because one of the things that we're learning is that our vision of best teaching might not be the same amongst ourselves. It might not be the same amongst parents, and it might not be the same amongst community members. So we're trying to pull to get a better understanding of what everybody's looking for to best fit our little town's needs. Moving on to our fire inspection. We had our annual fire inspection that was conducted by the Croydon Fire Department, and we passed in almost all areas. We do have a few areas of improvement. As you guys know, all window doors so that they're easily visible in case of emergency. You'll see the building has labels in all the windows now. And I met with a member of the state police to ensure that it would like to be more visible as a school. So if you see the state police, a member there or a car, that no alarm become more visible in small areas, and they're doing that throughout New Hampshire. Our goal is to meet with Vermont Life Safety. I called them last year when we had our fire inspection, and we need to continue the conversation on our fire alarm system to determine ways that we can alarm safety, especially with communication between the buildings, but also communication when the alarm goes off and what are next steps. When the Croydon Fire Department came, they donated a bunch of items like backpacks, phone supplies, etc. And so I wanted to give them a shout out and a big thank you for being great help to our school. We have some students are working on their beginning of the year testing. So they'll be doing STAR testing in both reading and math, unless you're in kindergarten, and that's just complete reading. We will also be doing reading assessments, which will help us determine reading level. And I hope to report all of this data out in our next meeting once I have it all together. And lastly, our beginning of the year state reports are due shortly. The biggest thing I'm working on is getting my non-public schools to gather that information and get it sent to me. As you know, we have a new school, and my understanding is Frank has been working with the school, the APIs to get that information, as well as Mount Royal and Oxford. So I'll be working with those schools to get that all taken care of and sent out to the state.
Thank you, Nicole. You said it was just the non-public data from the public schools?
The public school report directly.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the system. The only one that she didn't mention is Kimball Union. We have one student at Kimball Union. We'll be in the same situation. Yep. Hey, we're a team.
Feel better, Nicole? Can't hear me.
She said thank you. Okay, sure. So since our last meeting, we are working to continue to close the fiscal year 2022. Our fiscal year ends on June 30th, and it takes a couple of months to wind that down and get all the state done. Very similar to the BOY that Nicole is talking about. There are a lot of data points. So we're working through that right now. Our audit firm is Robertson Green. We are in a multi-year contract with them. We have 2 more years on that contract. So we'll be completing the audit for the fiscal year that we just completed probably in November. The district, as a small rural school, we can for that work because of the amount of work that is encompassed in that. So we anticipate that will go through the first or second week in October. Both Frank and Nicole talked about some of our new staff members. I have a couple more that I would like to mention. Kelsey McNamee obviously has been mentioned twice as an elementary part-time teacher. We are utilizing the services of Jeffrey Tomlinson as a special education part-time case manager. Selena Cianci, I hope I pronounced that right, is a part-time custodian. We have 2 part-time custodians to service the buildings during the week, and Brenda Williams. If you couldn't hear all Nicole's report, she still is looking for a volunteer for monitoring the bus in the morning. So if you know of someone, please send them Nicole's way. Our heartfelt thanks to the CVS community family for a fantastic start to the school year. So many wonderful changes in the building, in the property, in the cleanliness, just a really outstanding. Sure.
About the special education part-time
Yeah.
manager.
Yep.
What, I mean, is that, I thought that Nicole was gonna be handling.
This is,
How's that gonna work?
no, this is a very specific case management piece at a other school.
Yeah, it's a outside school.
Yeah.
Nicole and Mary Beth right now are sharing that case management and LEA work here. We have a person at Montessori who does the case management there. And that person would have been able to cover us. This was a student who is now at a different school. And so we had to find someone who was licensed at that level as a special ed teacher to do the case management. So we were able to get Jeff to do it very recently, actually.
Yeah, and it's
minimal, it's not a lot of.
It's not a lot, and it's often the case where we have to do special small contracts to take care of specific needs. So that was in the month of August. So at our next meeting, I'll provide a detailed breakout, also provide a tuition breakout. At this stage in the game, we're a little bit early. We haven't seen the tuition bills and the enrollments for all of the districts where our students are. So right now, I think we probably have 7 different schools, potentially, maybe 8. So we'll track all that data to see where students are, what those costs are, and report that back out at our meeting in October. And that's pretty traditionally the way we do it. It's just a little bit early yet. A big focus in financial news for all schools across the state this time of year is the adequacy aid. So there are a lot of conversations going on about the adequacy aid. You'll see meetings. There's been meetings in Sunapee, and there's a lot of information in the press regarding how does New Hampshire pay for education. Croydon Village School has 3 sources of revenue, 3 major sources of revenue: taxes, adequacy aid, and the state SWEP grant, which is a portion. You pay it, but it comes back to the town. I think the big takeaway from the adequacy aid conversation is to understand what is the cost of an adequate education as defined by the state of New Hampshire. And that cost is $3,786.66. Just for comparison, your cost per pupil last year reported at the state level, and you can see this if you go on the DOE's website, is $22,534. So those 3 revenue sources make up the difference between the 3,000 and the 22,500. There's also some additional aid that can arrive to the district. The first one is free and reduced. So those applications that Frank and Nicole are talking about, even though we don't belong to the National School Lunch Program, filling out those applications is important because there is an additional aid component, $1,893 for each qualifying student that gets added on to the district's adequacy allotment. There's a little bit of money for special education students who have individualized education plans or IEPs. That's $2,037. $740 if you have English language learners receiving English language instruction. And $740 for each 3rd grade pupil whose achievement score on the state assessment for reading was below the proficient level. So if you hit any of those markers, you get additional adequacy aid. Those are all part of the formula. So this year, the state has a couple of different items that they've added to the adequacy component. I'm only going to talk about one because we only qualified for one, and it's relief aid. And the relief aid grant is an additional grant for municipalities based on the percentage of free and reduced enrollment in the district. We received $852. That's going to be our allotment for this year. And we have to do a report on using that $852. So, yeah, there you go. There you go. So each year we get 20% of our payment in August, 20% in November, 20% in January, and the rest of it in the spring. Our adequacy budget for this year is $399,364. That was in your budget at the May 5th meeting. The new numbers released by the state show Croydon Village School receiving $391,000. The state aid, which is this swept amount that goes to the town, we budgeted $131,572. The state numbers that just came out, we're going to receive $131,572. And then we're going to receive this extra $852. So we are coming out of the gate with about $7,100 less in revenue than our budget. So the adequacy formula is based on your average daily membership. When your enrollment is 21 students, and the year before was 24 students, your adequacy, your ADM goes down. And that's a major factor in determining how much money you receive. Now this year, you're up to 28 students. So next year's number is going to go up because your average daily membership is going up. So that's the big conversation about adequacy aid. If anybody wants more information on that, I have a flyer and I can certainly point you to the lovely big long spreadsheet with the details at the DOE. It's an interesting read. It's very intricate. And it's also interesting to look at other schools your size and see what their costs are and what they're receiving. It's pretty fascinating. Another item that we reached out to the state for in the month of August was the Safe Schools Grant. We talked about it a little bit at our last meeting. The state of New Hampshire announced a security action grant in July and started to receive applications in July for that $13.3 million. It's a competitive grant. There will be money coming through from the state for quite a while for safety upgrades for buildings. We did not receive money in the first round, but we do get automatically bumped to the next round. So we'll continue to stay in the hunt to try and get some safety money.
Do we get feedback on why we did?
No, generally there are some major projects across the state. I think they have a weighted system and it goes into committee. I think it will come around. It just won't, it might be 3 or 4 rounds down the road. Our grant, what we put in was very small. Yeah.
The majority of the grants, as I remember looking at the list, Manchester probably had 20 grants. Concord, same thing. So those are large.
Yeah. On the financial side, our biggest source of revenue is tax receipts from the town. That's our appropriation through 3 months. July, August, and September, we have $256,000 in. We have a general fund balance of roughly $325,000 right now. That becomes important because tuition bills will start coming in and a lot more money will be flowing out. So we're right on track for where we need to be. Trust fund balances are listed. They don't really change very much. I put them in my report each time. We have a special education trust fund with approximately $137,000 in it. We have a facilities trust fund with $21,000, a general tuition fund that will be up to $28,000 because it'll be updated very shortly here, and the Van Santford Fund, which has $13,000 in it. Those funds are expendable trust funds that the school board can choose to utilize in the event that we have expenses or unforeseen costs that are not covered in our general budget. The school board has received all of the manifests since the last meeting, both payables and payroll, and reviewed them this evening. They also have received expense and revenue reports and a breakdown of all the expenses for the past month for this meeting. And that ends my report.
Excellent.
Questions? Yep.
Thank you, it's so much easier to hear from you.
All right, let's go now on to discussion items. So the first thing is strategic planning.
Yeah, I think we've actually covered a bunch of this.
You received one application? Is that
We have one application and I haven't looked at it, so I don't know. I can't really tell you anything about it. But one is better than none. And if hopefully it's a quality application and we can interview that person and or group, whatever it is, and see how that goes.
Did you get it?
Pardon me?
When did you get it?
It came in Wednesday. Oh, wait, today is Wednesday.
Came in Saturday.
Last week on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I called you Saturday.
Yeah,
I think.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna have to reach out to Aaron.
Yeah, and we'll find a date.
So that's that, okay. So the policy review committee meeting then, so then we're gonna schedule a meeting, is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do that now, do we have,
It's up to you.
well, I thought it was gonna be scheduled during the month, I thought you were gonna do that, but was that?
No, I didn't have all the contact until actually that email came out last week. I mean, I can try to do that scheduling.
It's just
if you want.
coordinating it, right?
Pardon me?
Coordinating the time, so that's the challenge.
I'm 1 day a week.
Sorry?
I work 1 day a week. If that's what you pay me for, so that goes fast. At any rate, I will put that on my to-do for you.
Yeah, so there's a note here, it says add a policy on kindergarten entry for ways to be reviewed.
Right. I had a family contact me about early entry of a child who doesn't meet the current cutoff. And so I went searching for a policy to see if we have a policy on early entry, and we don't. So that's one that we really should have in place. It's not the family are asking us a year ahead of time for their own planning, so we have a year to address it. But it'll be an issue next August for us, so we should get that on our list of policies to look at.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll do the same, I guess, with Aaron when he would like to schedule that meeting. That's the next item.
Right.
Is scheduling that, so I'll do the same with him.
And then school safety grant.
Yeah, my only update on that was to let you know that we did make it in the first round, but Beth had way more information than I had, so.
And with that, that's the end of our agenda. Public forum number 2. You ready?
I just wanted to ask and confirm the next meeting dates. On the agenda, I saw October 18th, is that correct?
That's what's written on the agenda.
Right.
Check your calendar now. Last time you saw the calendar.
I'm gonna go, yeah, let me go check right now, because that's in our drive.
18th. It's on my, so.
You got it? Yeah, I think it's right. I thought the others were right too, so.
And I guess to follow up on that, for Frank, as far as trying to coordinate and schedule these committee meetings, how soon would you anticipate it to be in order to, you know?
So I know that my week next week is pretty packed, so nothing much is gonna happen next week, but the week after, probably 2 weeks would be the earliest.
That they could happen, or that they could be scheduled?
No, I'll get them scheduled sooner than that, but to happen, probably, we should get them, we need to get going on it, so probably within 2 weeks. Yeah.
Anything else?
I I will just comment on first, my son's in first grade, and he's loving to start the school year, and he was telling me today about how in science class they're exploring apples and predicting how many seeds will be inside the apples, and then discovering for sure how many, and doing lots of math skills around that. So I was really pleased to hear a first grader sharing out in detail about how excited he is.
Anybody else? All right. Gonna motion to adjourn at 7:38.
Thank you very much. Really does.
Frank can't hear me.
Who made the motion?
I did, nobody seconded it.
Okay.
But
Kevin has,
All in favor?
yeah, thank you.
Aye.
I'm right, that's, German is such a funny thing.
Yeah, you could, I guess.
I want to stay.
Baby, you know there's a little bitty baby?
I did. Isn't she adorable? We are in the, our oldest daughter, she's 2 weeks. 2 weeks, baby girl. Well, they're the ones up in Derby.
Wow.
Yeah, so everybody's in